There's a moment of transcendence that occurs in the practice of meditation, but it is not the one that you think. So when a lot of people start meditation, they conceive of maybe an otherworldly experience or out of body or a moment of transcendence where there is no there or no self left. And I'm not going to deny that some of those states are accessible and exist. But if we're talking about somatic control, the ability to organize and manage your nervous system under pressure, your ability to integrate your breath, your structure, your attention when it matters the most, then there is a specific moment of transcendence within meditation that is worth being aware of and calling out. This moment exists within what we might call the loop. All of us have patterns, emotional, psychological. We tell the same stories day in and day out. We repeat the same habits day in and day out, and we mistake these things for personalities. A microcosm of this is that you might be in a certain situation, literally any situation where a pattern could exist, which is all things. In the next moment, you feel an impulse to do something, and then you do that thing. If this is a well-formed habit or idea, this can be almost impossible to deny or ignore. For example, the last 20 times you just reach for your phone to check if you had any messages or likes or whatever it is, this type of conditioning can become neurological. You associate a certain action with a certain type of payoff or a dopamine hit. You do this enough times and it becomes a repeated trait. But the moment of transcendence might look something like this. You're standing symmetrically, trying to have a moment of silence. You're observing what's going on in the body, maybe being aware of what's in the environment. And then all of a sudden, maybe a little bit of boredom sets in, or maybe a little bit of agitation, right? And then the trigger to do something else, to look at your phone, to shift, a thought pops in the head. Some breach of the exercise kicks in, and it's like these old patterns just start to take over. Oftentimes these are dismissed or being treated as, they're okay, they crop up, and they are, and they do. But the real moment of transcendence is when you become aware of that impulse. Let's just use a clear example, to check your phone. You become aware of that impulse to flee this discomfort, right? This moment of stillness, and do something else. When that impulse arises, you become aware of that impulse, but you don't let it finish its cycle, meaning you don't actually act on it, reach for the phone, and check social or whatever. And then you do this again, and then you do this again. This winds up giving you two interesting skills. The first is present awareness when discomfort arises. And then the second one is to choose a new course of action. Now, when we're dealing with a microcosm of meditation, it's not a very interesting or sexy thing. And oftentimes, it can be tedious, if not boring, at times to go through that practice. But then this starts to translate and flow into daily life in interesting ways. So you start to have moments where you notice, well, I normally would have been upset by that, or maybe I should just flee this point of discomfort or take a different direction. And you realize in those moments that there is a bit of space between stimulus, this thing that's happening to me, and my response, what I would normally do. And in the next few moments, you have the option to choose a different course of action. Now, the fascinating thing about this, and we talk a lot here about the somatic skins, the four nervous system orientations of warrior, sage, shapeshifter, and asset. Quiz, link in the description below if you're interested in learning yours. But the fascinating thing about these is that we tend to mistake these patterns for personality and character, for that matter. But when the ability to break the loop, to perceive that impulse in real time and to choose new patterns starts to surface, it's undeniable that these points of character that we know ourselves to be are just years and years of thoughtless repetition. It's an extraordinary insight, actually. And circling back to the original point is that when we're talking about transcendence, there is an ability to transcend the selves that we know ourselves to be by breaking this loop of conditioned patterning. And that's where it exists. And we don't need to see meditation as something other or an external practice. Even you watching this video right now could be an act of meditation if you're not reducing your perception to just what you're seeing and what I'm saying, but you're also aware of your breath, you're aware of your structure, how you're sitting, maybe what's going on in the environment, and you're allowing yourself to experience a high volume of data or information coming in at once. Anything can be, or any moment can be, an act of meditation. And that's the beauty of it. It doesn't need to be treated like it's some external skill. It's simply your ability to sense, slow down, and perceive in this very moment. And then ideally, choose your highest self or an unexpressed version of yourself that you would like to bring into reality going forward. Yeah, so if this interests you, look, this is a core point of training at the Prestige, our Applied Somatics Academy. But it applies to all things everywhere. It's an extraordinary thing, and it's one of the most, I think, underappreciated and overlooked aspects of meditation itself, because it is often relegated to a different category of living or lifestyle. People train these things in an ashram, in a forest, in a quiet place, and the amazing thing is they actually allow you to stay in accelerated time when you're under pressure, when there are triggers present, maybe even when you're heated, upset, angry, anxious, any of those things. And it's a door that you can unlock that gives you access to new choices. It's an exciting thing. Hopefully you find it exciting. Try it today. Start with structure, attention, and breath. Fix those three things. Give yourself just a few moments of silence. It doesn't have to be formal standing meditation or even mindful awareness as such, but you can just start with the regulators. Allow your perception to expand, your awareness to expand a little bit. Sense what you sense in the body. Pay attention to the environment. That impulse arises to help you escape from the discomfort of sitting in your own juices. In that moment is the point of new control and new choice. Pay attention to it, and hopefully you got something out of this. If you're interested in learning more, link in the description for the Prestige. We run amazing events every month-ish that give you insight into your somatic orientation and performance, and we coach this stuff. So come check us out.